Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley, and this is another historic church in Nottinghamshire. This is the Church of St Wilfrid, Screveton. It's only half a mile from St Mary's at Carcolston. St Mary's appears to be more or less in the middle of the parish. St Wilfrid's is right on the edge of the parish, and so you can actually fairly easily walk between the two churches. I didn't, for reasons. But you can. This is a smaller and humbler building. It certainly has Norman origins, like St Mary's. Most notably, as with St Mary's, there's a lovely Norman font. The nave aisles, or the arcades rather, are certainly of 13th century date. The tower, present tower, was built in the late 16th century, after the previous one fell down, which obviously you've got to do something about it if the previous one has come down. The building has had a Victorian restoration, as of course so many have, and very often it was for the reason that actually the building was in a bit of a poor state. But it hasn't been over-restored, which is a good thing. So again, we'll have a look around and see what we can see. As usual, then we start at the west end, and in this case that means in the tower. You can see there's that lovely tub font. We will have a closer look at that. But also under the tower, and something that often happens in these restorations, that memorials got moved. Here we have, just see it again, the light isn't very good in here. I should have got a torch or something, but there we are. Here we have Richard something. His name has been somewhat damaged, but here he is with his nice long beard, died in 1583. So yes, beards were fashionable in those days. And there's his three wives, each with their, you can't see that one there, but these two, each with their lots and lots of children. Oddly enough, very strangely, the line actually became extinct after the next generation, because apparently none of the children had children of their own. So there we are. Come out into the beautiful nave. And here the chancellor is much more in keeping size-wise with everything else. Victorian restoration, the furnishings date from that time. So we go first into the north aisle here. And there is obviously Lady Chapel, because we've got St Mary. We've got the Virgin Child up there in an old window, and down here we have a harmonium, which doesn't appear to be used anymore because there's a plough in front of it. There's a reason for this. The parish chest, with its usual multiple locks so that no one person could get into it, which is very important. There is the pulpit. Yes, the thing with parish chests and multiple locks is it's to do with this business that no one person has control over the records, the finances of the church. So the church is not being run by one individual, but there's a group of men. And it would have been men back then. There's the clergyman and the church wardens, and two church wardens, and the minister, whatever his position may be, as he may be a rector or a curate. So we go through then into the south aisle, and here we have a bit of a rose gallery, old clergy. There's also a memorial here to the crew. Well, we've got our war memorials here, and there's a memorial to the crew of two aircraft that collided over the parish, Avro Lancaster and an airspeed Oxford, both training aircraft, and one had taken off from Syerston, the other from Wymeswold, and they communication failure, and they crash into each other, leading of course to massive loss of life because everyone on board the aircraft was killed. East window in the south aisle, they got south aisle altar, south aisle piscina, and here we have, see that is a part of a propeller blade from one of the aircraft that collided. And we look back this way. There is an organ, and it explains why the harmonium's not used. That box there is the organ, all closed up. Iron screen here, because of course the Victorians, you get a revival of the idea of the sanctuary, the division between nave and chancel. Ironically, because it's something that the Roman Catholics give up to a great extent after the Reformation. They go for auditory churches and short chancels in Europe, but this is sort of going back to the medieval idea. But sometimes you want a distinction without actually blocking off people's vision. That's what I'm thinking of. So you get those as low screens. Here we have the altar up on steps and a nice tiled floor. The sedilia and piscina. The sedile is of course the stone seat, and the piscina is for washing the sacred vessels after the Mass. A modern Mothers' Union banner there. Of course, you've got a globe turned towards Africa, which of course suggests the focus of the Mothers' Union on helping mothers in the developing world, which is an interesting thing to do in terms of the iconography. And there we have the east window saints worshipping the Lord Jesus Christ. We've got apostles and martyrs, etc. And we've got the angels above. The other thing about this banner is you've got the iconography of the candles, or the light that shines. And the three candles represent the three churches: Screveton, Carcolston, and Flintham. I never found Flintham Church open. And so there we are, looking west to that wonderful font, which reminds me, I haven't had a proper look at the font, which we need to do. But there's the gates. You will notice that the lectern is positioned to be read by someone standing at the stall here rather than someone outside, which is originally designed for. Yes, it's designed for that. It's too tall otherwise. So here's this fantastic font. So let's get a bit closer and then stop. The font. The font dates from about 1170. Norman tub, but of a very elaborate kind. It's interesting to contrast it with that at Carcolston, which is very simple and plain, because of course Carcolston Church is much bigger and grander, so they put more money into the font than the church. But then of course Carcolston Church, everything pretty much is much later. And then just up here, just to say completeness, can't really see a door there, carved royal arms of King Charles II. So down the road we've got Charles III, and up here we've got Charles II. And so here we are outside at St Wilfrid, Screveton. You can see here this lovely 16th century tower, late 16th century. And it's, as I say, it's there because the previous steeple, as it's described, decided to develop devotional tendencies and attempt to prostrate itself to reference Spurgeon's comment about the state of the old meeting house at Stambourne. So we'll have a look around the outside and again see what we can see. So St Wilfrid is, of course, first of all, much smaller than St Mary's, Colston. The nave is made to appear even smaller by that massive great tower. And there's a nice chancel, 13th century. They extended chancels that to do with the elaboration of the liturgy. It's impossible to go round to the west end there, at least with any sort of degree of comfort, because of the drive to what is in fact the old parsonage, which is now in private hands, as these so often are, partly because they were enormous great buildings designed for the clergyman and a good number of servants and a big family. It's Thomas Marsh's table tomb, and they've got again these slate slabs that are very common in this part of England. Windows, 19th century, but in that late medieval style, which of course doesn't mean they're nice and big, rather than being like these early medieval windows, which are little lancers, because of course originally they didn't have anything in the way of glass in them. I believe that is the old medieval clergy house. Because of course medieval clergy only needed a single man, celibate priest. He doesn't need very much space. I'll look back at the tower there. We'll just go further out. And there we have it. There we are. The East End. And carry on around here, just watching out in terms of the there's the wind. Obviously it is December, well, it's actually a very mild December at the moment. Certainly known much harsher Decembers. This time last year we had heavy frosts, but there we are. That's climate, that's life. And there we have, this is the whole business of making sure I don't just point the camera straight at the sun, which means that we get no. So here we go, there we are. Hopefully just about get that again. Because of where the sun is, I've got to adjust the angle here, so that's the north side. So there we have it, St Wilfrid's, Screveton. And so there you have it, St Wilfrid's, Screveton. Another example of these beautiful Nottinghamshire churches visited on this nice, unusually sunny for December 2025. December, rather, it does feel more like September, but it is December, this December day. So thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.